I'm Jenny Dittmar, and I'm an epidemiologist at the Lord Mallow Public Health Unit. Today, I'm going to give you a quick how-to on how to use the 2023 Victorian Population Health Survey dashboard that's recently been released. To give you a quick introduction to the Victorian Population Health Survey, it's a survey that's conducted via phone every year, and every 3 years they do a larger sample size so that the survey is powered to look at LGA level measures. In 2023, such a larger survey was conducted, and the sample was just under 34,000 adult responders from across Victoria. The survey collects a wide range of data, including social determinants of health, health risk factors, protective factors, health literacy, health service use, and also physical and mental health status. The data has been made available through an interactive dashboard that can be found through this link or on the VAHI website. The purpose of this session is to give you some quick guidance around the usage of the interactive dashboard. We'll give you a quick step-by-step guide on how to interact with the dashboard and how to gather the measures for one indicator. We also provide some advice on where to find more information. And as we go, we'll also explain some of the limitations around this survey data. Please note that this is not a survey that was conducted by the LMPHU. We do not own any of this data, and any of the questions should be directed towards the Victorian Population Health Survey team. I will be referring to the Victorian Population Health Survey as the VPHS from now on. This year, the VPHS has been made available in two different estimates. We've been provided with the crude estimates and also the age-adjusted estimates. The crude estimates convey the true magnitude of an indicator. However, they cannot be used to compare between two populations with different age structures. This is particularly important in rural Victoria because we know that we have quite different age structures to metropolitan Melbourne and actually differ significantly across the region. An age structure refers to how many individuals sit within each age group. So if you have an aging population, you have more individuals that sit in the higher age range structures. This is particularly important when we're looking at health measures because a lot of these health measures are more likely to occur in older populations. So sometimes the difference between two areas may just be due to this different age structure and not a true difference in the prevalence of the indicator. To control for this, we can use the age adjusted measure, and this controls for the difference between these two groups that may be due to the two groups having different age structures. And it's important to remember that once these indicators have been age adjusted, they may not convey the true magnitude of the indicator any longer, but they do allow us to compare across different regions. Whether you use crude or age adjusted estimate is entirely dependent on the reason for using your data. If you are looking at service provision or catchment planning, then the crude measure is going to give you a true indicator of your population's prevalence of that indicator. If you are looking at doing a comparison across different regions, then you would need to use the age adjusted measures. We're going to jump across to the dashboard now to give you a quick orientation and go through how to access the data for one of the measures. This is the Victorian Population Health Survey 2023 dashboard. It has an index along this side where if you click, it will take you straight to those measures. It also has a ribbon across the bottom to help you navigate to these different areas. The VPHS team have provided a number of important information sections along with the data. There's an extensive instructions on how to use this dashboard. You can also find tips on how to interpret the survey data. This also goes into some of the questions that the survey data can and cannot answer. There is also a detailed section on the methodology, so how the data was collected. This also goes into some of the limitations that data collection presents. There is a notes section that goes through each measure and indicates how they were calculated, such as how body mass index is calculated. There is also a full version of the questionnaire, so you can go and have a look at exactly how a question was asked and the responses that were available. There is also a tab where you can export this data into an Excel spreadsheet to allow you to manipulate the data. Give you a quick view of how to access the different estimates. We're going to have a quick look at body mass index today. So when you first click on the indicator, it brings up this page where there are a number of panels. This one here is going to give us a graph. This will give us a table, and this will let you know which slicer you have selected. There's also some key insights for that and some interpretation that has been provided around each measure. The indicators are also available in a map form. I would caution to be very clear about which measure you are looking at and which slicer you have used when using this map view. And there's also a link to those notes sections that tell you how the different categories have been calculated. We're going to use the report section today. For body mass index, there are 3 different categories of indicators. You can have a look at the body mass by each category. It's also provided as an all overweight, so a greater than 25 BMI version, and also a greater, equal or greater than 30 category as well. To access the different measures within these categories, you just click on the little triangles next to it and it will bring down these drop-down measures. So you can see there is the crude available, the age adjusted available, and an age specific section. When we click the drop down for this, there are a number of different ways that this data has been sliced. You can look at it by household structure under demography, by chronic conditions under morbidity, and by socioeconomic status. All of those measures are only cut by the Victorian level data. So today we're going to focus on this geography section where we can actually break it down by LGA. And the best way to access that is through looking at the LGA via the local public health unit that you're interested in. So for us, that's Loddon Mallee. So if we click on this drop down, you can see there that here are all the different body mass index categories. So if we looked at overweight but not obese, we would click this little square here and our data is populated over in this section here. So you can see there's graphs here. There's also a table here. So this table here gives you the percentage of your population, the lower limit and the upper limit of the confidence interval, and whether this is statistically significantly different to the Victorian estimate. So this is the crude value. So we could use this table to say that 31.7% of people in Macedon ranges are overweight but not obese. And this is not statistically significantly different to Victoria. We cannot use this value to compare it to any of the other LGAs. However, if we wanted to compare to the other LGAs within the Loddon Mallee, we would need to look at the age adjusted. The structure of these tabs within the age adjusted is just the same as it was for crude. So we click on that, click on Loddon Mallee, click on overweight but not obese. We can see that those numbers have changed, and now it's saying 29.6% of people in the Loddon Mallee, or in Macedon Ranges, sorry, are overweight but not obese. But the power of what we can do with this now is that we can say that is 6% higher than in Swan Hill LGA. Remembering that we can no longer say that 29.6% of people within Macedon Ranges are obese but not overweight. We can say that proportionally, after age adjusting, 29.6, and we can then compare that to other LGAs. So just a reminder that these BMI is also available as overweight, so with a BMI of 25 or over, and also as obese or a BMI of 30 or over. So different estimates have different categories available. If we go quickly to diet, there are a number of estimates available for that around fruit consumption, vegetable consumption, compliance with guidelines, and also sugar sweetened beverage. If we have a look at sugar sweetened beverage, once we click down, it looks much the same as the BMI, where we have our crude adjusted, our age adjusted, and our age specific. If we have a quick look at crude, we can go down to geography. The categories available are individuals are drinking sugar sweetened drinks daily, several times a week, about once a week, less often than once a week or never. If we click on daily, we can say that 20% of people in Greater Bendigo are consuming sugar sweetened drinks daily. And this is not significantly higher or lower than the state. However, 27.6% of people in Swan Hill drink sugar sweetened beverage, and that is significantly higher than the state. But we cannot compare the Greater Bendigo to Swan Hill by saying Swan Hill has more individuals than Greater Bendigo, because it may be age related. So we would need to go to the age adjusted measure, get Lodd and Mallee Public Health Unit, click on daily, and now we can see when we compare Greater Bendigo to Swan Hill, there is still a difference. There are other data sources that can be used to gather information around some of these measures. The ABS has an extensive database of data around a lot of different measures, mostly based on the census data. ABS also conducts other surveys of interest. Special interest bodies also collect data, mostly through surveys. The Cancer Council has a lot of surveys around skin cancer prevention and other types of cancers. Turning Point has information around mental health. The Lodd and Mallee Public Health Unit has put together a compilation of publicly available data into our data profiles. These are available on our website. We currently have a regional profile that does a comparison between LGAs across the region. We also have LGA specific data profiles, and we are currently developing township profiles at the moment. There is one available for Heathcote. Things to consider when determining which data source to choose. It's really important to consider what you're using the data for, what story you're trying to tell, what point you're trying to get across. Some of the other things that are relevant to look at is how recent the data was collected, as to see if it's still relevant or not. The method of data collection is very important. Was this a mandated survey, such as the census, or was it voluntary? Or was it conducted by phone interview, by people standing in supermarkets, by mailing out? Was it opt-in by Facebook advertising? All of those will significantly impact the types of responders you get, and that in turn sort of introduces different biases to the data. So it's important to understand those biases that have been introduced. Data availability is also an important thing to consider. What ways is the data cut? What granularity can you get in terms of geography? Is it on a static website? Is it through a interactive dashboard? Can you download spreadsheets of the data? And the last thing to consider is what questions were asked, how the questions were structured. Was it free text? Was there drop-down answers available? If you're trying to compare the results of two different data sources, were the questions asked the same? I know particularly around diet, this can be quite tricky in that oftentimes the way that the question is structured as to whether do you eat 2 or more vegetables a day or 3 or more vegetables a day, it's going to give you quite different answers. So it's quite important to look at what question was asked when you're trying to compare different data sources. Thank you for your time today. Please feel free to contact the Lodd and Mallee Public Health Unit should you have any further questions or would like some help interpreting the data for your specific questions. For any specific survey related questions around the data or the dashboard, please contact VPHS. And thank you for your time today.